I was thinking about 19, where I am. 19, I've not passed the examination for university yet. I failed 3 times, but
I think it worked out.
I'm not good at schooling. Well, yeah, that's why I give confidence to a lot of young people in China. If Jack Ma can be successful, 80% of the people can be successful. People like her, we're jealous. Well, equality, I would like to make a little bit of technology helping, because yesterday I was joining the UN Women Conference about gender equality. And I think the first technology revolution happened 200 years ago in the UK, released the human body, the arm, stronger. The second technology revolution in the US, for energy, you can last long. But this technology revolution release the brain. So this century is not a competition who is stronger, whose muscle is stronger. It's who is smarter, who is soft, who can listen. It's the challenge of wisdom. So man and woman are equal. On the internet, you can never see he's a woman or a man. And on the internet, women can serve much better than men on the internet. Men talking about the business, talking about numbers, competition, they make business very cold. Women, they make business very cozy, lifestyle, and interesting. 50%, more than 50% of our shop owners, more than 5 million shop owners are women. And people love that. I mean, this is a great thing. I see that this century, we see more and more women leaders, on the state leaders, the presidents. In the future, we're going to General Secretary of the United Nations should be a woman leader. And this is the great century for equality. And I feel excited about that.
Let me ask you, we're almost out of time, but one of the things that we haven't talked enough about here, and not just here, but generally, is whether the leapfrogging we saw with cell phones, which was instrumental in your phenomenal business success, and which will make it possible for you at the appropriate time to do what you've done on a global scale, hitherto unimaginable in all of human history for anybody to have any of their own health data. We've seen examples, but not the kind of dramatic penetration we need with energy and clean energy, and enough in a short enough time to avoid the worst consequences of climate change. So do you believe that, I mean, your country has done more than anybody else to try to put up solar panels, and some of your companies went broke because you overdid it, right? But beforehand, and you got to work out the phase out of the coal, the phase into the sun and all that. Meanwhile, Africa, which is growing like crazy because of the cell phone in no small measure, and has 6 of the fastest growing countries in the world, still has vast swaths of its land totally dark at night. Do you believe that it's possible for us to scale up with distributed solar power rather than centralized as quick as we did with the cell phone? And if so, and if that were your business, if you had to quit what you're doing today and start there, how would you do it? And how would you do it?
Lady first, I know that.
I'm such a huge believer in technology, and I think especially right now, we're at an incredible time in terms of new technology and the ability to apply technology in a scalable way towards solving some of these problems. So I would look at it in the context of some of the renewable solutions that we already have, and in the context of empowering, connecting individuals with access to those solutions, and in the context of creating markets around them. I think that there's real opportunity to actually create an ecosystem in which people can financially benefit from these solutions, and I think that's going to drive an adoption. I think in developing economies, there's a revenue stream associated with that, and the more we can turn even already some of the technologies that we have into markets, the more that we can fuel, I believe, local growth and individual engagement in beginning to adopt some of these solutions.
Just related to that, Jack, you answer it, and then I'll ask you one final question.
Yeah, I am a strong believer that technology can make world much better, because people say China economy is getting slower. I'm happy about the 7%, even 5%. Even 5% of the GDP of the number of China, of the second largest economy, is big enough. But you don't expect China to keep on growing 11%. Because like one human body, when you're 1.8 meters tall, you cannot keep on like a 10% grow every year. You have to grow the quality, your mind, the wisdom. So I think China needs new technology to solve these problems, and which today, the data, the clean technology, all these things that China is supposed to do, if we keep on the tradition, the old ways, we'll go nowhere. This is why I feel excited, because people ask me, what is your dream now? Because I never thought I would be today. I can sit here talking to president. I'm like a guy, you know, on the street and like failed 3 times for university, 5 times for high key schools. I applied for 10 times in Harvard school, all rejected. I never thought, because of the technology, because the internet give me this opportunity. So I think when I retire, I don't want the Chinese people have a terrible water to drink, unsafe for food, and the money we make all spent in the hospital. That's disaster. So how we can use the technology to enable young people, the great chance of this world, don't worry about it. We got 1.4 billion people who were born in 1980s. They are the people of the internet times. They are going to have new ways to solve the world problems. The things you are worried about today, they can solve it. And human beings have these kind of worries for centuries. And young people can always solve it. And today, when you have a right direction, clean energy, you know, the climate change, all these issues, they will be solved, and these are the great opportunities ahead of us.
Anything else?
I agree with that. I think the more we can enfranchise people, the more we can create ecosystems in which individuals are empowered, the more we give rights to individuals to be able to build businesses, to be able to pursue the economic benefit of technologies, the more you see these markets change.
Before they leave the stage, I want you to look at them. And I want you to think about the time we have had to spend here dealing with the refugee problems in Syria and Lebanon. Stand up, Elias. This is my friend Elias Bousab. He is the education minister in Lebanon. He's got to educate all these kids. And so he left a miracle that very much reflects the lives that Elizabeth and Jack have lived. He was in a very responsible position at the American University of Dubai. They started bringing American scholars over there to live in an Arabic culture. He did all these wonderful things. Lebanon got in trouble. He went home to save his country. What is the difference? How much more could he and every smart Lebanese person do if they could focus on these things? And why can he not? Because the place is dominated by people who think their differences are more important than their common humanity and their common challenges. You cannot imagine Jack Ma's proud of being Chinese. I like that. He never hid it. He's happy about it.
I'm proud to be a global citizen too.
Yeah. And I imagine Elizabeth's proud to be a blonde-haired, blue-eyed American techno whiz from Northern California.
Yes.
But they don't, not a word either one of them has said has defined the meaning of their lives or the direction of their work with negative reference to someone else. My friend Dikembe Mutombo, stand up. No, you don't have to stand up. It'll hurt you too much. You're an old man. My 7'2" tall friend was just inducted into the National Basketball Association Hall of Fame. And He, my family, my whole family loves him. And I have seen how much he has given back to his native country, Congo, which has been so troubled. I've known him a long time. We both went to Georgetown University. I did before he was born, I think. I've never heard him say a resentful thing about anybody. I have seen him give and give and give, and try to give the people in his native land opportunities. Why am I telling you this? He's had a good life because he never defined his life with negative reference to anybody else. He never begrudged anybody else's success, and he thought he had an obligation to help other people. I'm telling you, we are back in a time of collective global insecurity where the main struggle is the oldest one in human history, just in modern techno realities. I mean, if you were trying to build the Middle East, you would think about our permanent sponsor here, the ambassador from Oman, who her government tried to help head off a calamitous war in the Middle East over the nuclear issue in Iran. We all pray to God that it'll work out all right. And the lead she made. You look around all these places, wherever people are putting aside their differences and working together, good things are happening. We cannot achieve economic or social equality without living in the factual realities of the world we face, looking at the obstacles, looking at the opportunities, making the best decisions. And those of us who even feel good about ourselves because we think we spend a lot of time giving, our whole goal should be to work ourselves out of a job. One of the things that Bill and Tanny Austin are sitting there with Starkey, they started giving away hearing aids, and then they decided, well, we better teach these young people how to speak. If they get the gift of hearing, they'll have to learn that. So they got into the education business. Sonny Varkey got into the education business and decided somebody ought to do something really dramatic to remind people that the only people that really matter are the teachers. So he gave the first Global Teacher of the Year award last year, and an international panel gave the prize to a teacher from Maine who promptly gave the entire $1 million to her school. The woman never made any money in her life. She gave all the money away immediately. The future is going to be forged by people who think of how to use the modern tools that we are given, as Elizabeth and Jack have, to create opportunity through empowerment. And it will not be a straight line. It's too many moving parts. But I just want you to think about that. The reason you feel good looking at them is that you identify with them even though they're different from you. And that's basically where we are all over again, and we can't slip back. We can't give up. That's why we had the Prime Minister of Italy and George Soros talking about the future of Europe, and George said it was coming apart, and the Prime Minister said, no, it doesn't have to come apart if it's about something more than economics. I thought it doesn't have to come apart if you will it not to. And you put yourself on the line for it. There are no guaranteed outcomes today, but you can guarantee that the trend is right. So go ahead, Dee, we're going to say something, weren't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, as we're talking about the future and from my own experience and looking at all the faces here, I think a huge part of the answer to your question is also to raise our little girls with the stereotype that they can be the best in engineering and science and math, because when they do in all of these industries, it changes everything. And we need to do that in this country, and we need to do that as parents in other countries. You know?
Yeah, I was thinking about if what you say. I think about when you talk about problems, you normally it's like a politician. When you talk about opportunities at the business people, I was thinking about how we can using, this, all the problems that change the problem become the opportunity. And I don't know, I just feel excited when people talk about problems. I think think about, if you can solve one of them, that's the chance. And today, nobody in this century has so many opportunities and so many tools they can use to change other people's life. And I think in the last century, which I call the IT time, this century is called the DT time, data technology. IT is to empower yourself, make yourself strong. DT is to empower the others. When you empower the others, you empower your future, yourself. So when I listen to you talk, I agree, and I think that's why we were born in this century. That's why how we can use the internet to help more people.
Let's give him a hand. Thank you.